Hey Inovecians, it's Julia here. We've got a couple weeks until our next class, so I wanted to give you a couple of videos on skills that are going to be important. There are two major transitions left before we get to the body and eventually the short rows and the ends of the sweater. One of them is the raglan portion. I think that's section 4, and then section 5 will be dividing for the body and sleeves. So I'm going to have a video on each of those. And in the meantime, I wanted to give you a little bit of theory on how a raglan works. So this is the most stereotypical version of a raglan here. This is a baseball ringer tee. And yep, I went to the Louisville Arcade Expo. So the thing about a raglan in this way is the sleeve essentially starts at the neck. So it's at the neck, and the front and back are also started there. But the whole sleeve is built on a diagonal that way, starting from the neck. And what happens is the sleeve gets wider to accommodate your arm, and the body also gets wider to accommodate the widest part of your chest, and then they'll meet at the bottom. Our Inovec sweater is a little bit of a hybrid of a raglan and sort of a drop sleeve because we've knit a bunch down to here, really, and we've done our knit one below increases, which have helped us get there. But if you notice the the samples in the shop, there's like a little diagonal line under that goes from the bottom, underneath the arms. And so that's what's happening here. On a sweater, a lot of people do a raglan construction when they're doing one of their first sweaters because it allows you to try on the sweater bit by bit and see how it's fitting. It's really nice that way. It doesn't have sleeves you sew on. And a raglan in the sweater tends to look like something like this when you're done. So this is a big, fat, stylized raglan with a bunch of stitches in between. But notice this sleeve starts from the neck band's put on at the end, and then we've got this diagonal, and the chest is also expanding. For the record, I did not make this sweater, the Gap did, but I do love it anyway. All right, let's transition over to our knitting here. Okay, I am not working on my pink monstrosity today. I'm working on the blue test sweater for this. So here I go. I've already done round 1. So round 1 is called the setup round. You'll see it commonly in instructions, and it just means you are going to be marking off where the sleeves are going to be and where the front and back are going to be. So I've already put in the markers. This marker here is my beginning of row marker. And remember, that's in the center back. So then I've put in my first 2 markers, these pink ones. These are the sleeve. That's the left-hand sleeve. Then I've got a wider space here, and that is the front of my sweater. I haven't transitioned to my bigger needles yet, so I'm a little bunched up. And then these green ones indicate the right sleeve. And then I've knit a portion across the back to meet up with the first row, and that's the center back here. Okay, so let's see how this works. I'm just gonna knit to that first pink one. That's the beginning of my sleeve. Oh goodness. It is not even 2 o'clock, y'all. But wouldn't you know, I've already recorded this video once, and I forgot to turn on my microphone. So there's all of this knitting that's enthusiastic and fantastic instruction. None of it had any audio. But such is life, I suppose. All right. I'm getting close to this marker. Gotta get myself a little more yarn. Okay. So I'm going to go all the way up to the marker. Okay. So in the raglan, you can see you saw from this one here, that the body and sleeves kind of lean away from it, forming diagonals. And so the way that we form the diagonals is we do a make one right increase, then we do our little raglan stitch, and then we do a make one left increase. So I've done a video on make one left, but I'm going to do it on here anyway. So this is going to be the make one right increase. Notice I pulled my knitting apart and I can easily see that bar right there where I'm going to go into. And for the make one right increase, I'm going to take my left hand needle and I'm going to go from the back to the front through that bar. Oops, wow, I popped off my stitch counter. From the back to the front. And the way that I know that I've done it correctly is notice that this yarn is leaning up and to the right. And I'm going to knit through the front to that loop to create tension. Now I'm going to slip my marker and I'm going to knit one. That's going to form just like a little bit of a line to separate the diagonal. Okay. And now, I'm going to find that bar again for make one left. We're always going to go away from that marker. So I'm going to take that from the front to the back. Boop. And notice, I know that I've done it correctly because my stitch is going up and to the left. And I'm going to knit through the back of this. So I'm going to put my needle through there. And I'm going to knit it. Okay. So I've done one part of the raglan, and I'm just going to knit around. A lot of people find make one left increases a little bit tougher knitting through the back. It twists things up. And if you're a tight knitter, sometimes it could be hard to even get through the back of that stitch. So now I am just trying to find my way through to the other side of the sleeve, and it's coming up. There it is, emerging from under my hand, out of the mist. Okay. Let's move that mouse. Okay. I am all the way right up to that marker and I'm looking at the bar in between stitches. It's really much easier to see if you pull your knitting apart. And since this is a right increase, I'm going from back to front. So I'm going to take my left hand needle and I'm going to go from the back to the front. And I can tell that this is right because it's leaning up and to the right, and I'm going to knit through the front. Okay, slip the marker, knit one, pull my work apart. I'm going to get ready to do make one left. So I look for the bar. I'm going from front to back. I'm checking on my lean. And I'm going to go through the back of the stitch. Alrighty. So now I have to knit about twice that number of stitches for the first row. And that is going to get me the front of my sweater. So I got this yarn for a project for my husband. He picked out the colors and he said, honey, I want a sweater that's baby blue and baby pink. And I said, okay, it's your choice. And all along the way of knitting, I just kept wondering to myself, is this going to be hideous? The world will never know. But hey, guess what? The world knows. I finally finished the sweater. And he likes it. And he gets lots of compliments on it. I told him that if you think it's ugly, you only have to wear it once and I will never complain if you never wear it again. We just won't talk about it. It's fine. But luckily, he likes it. Spends a good portion of the winter wrapped up and cozy. So now you know a little bit about this. Just head it on over here and working on towards that front, end of that front. Yeah, I'm pretty jammed up on these needles. There's no rhyme or reason to exactly when you need to switch over your needles, but it should be before your stitches get too bunched up. There we go. Doopy-doo. And I've reached my marker. This is the beginning of my other sleeve, and I'm going to do a make one right increase here. So I'm going to find my bar, that's right here, and I'm going to go from back to front through the bar. Check my lean, it looks good, and I'm going to knit through the front. Slip the marker, knit one, gonna spread apart my knitting. I'm gonna look for that bar. I'm gonna go from front to back. Gonna check out my lean, and I'm gonna knit through the back. And I'm gonna keep knitting. And this yarn is amazing for keeping my knitting nice and loose. It just slides along pretty easily. Easy to not separate the plies from each other. Looking good. And you can totally feel free to fast forward me as I go through this sleeve, but it's a little bit shorter than going through the front and the back, so I don't have time to tell you an exciting life story. But I'm sure that I am becoming a good candidate to be the knitting version of Bob Ross. There's no mistakes in knitting, only things that you get the joy of unraveling. Little happy trees. Okay, I've reached this. This is the beginning of my, or this is the end of that second sleeve. So again, I'm going to try to go away from, oh wait, you're over here, away from that marker. So I'm going to do a make one right. I found the bar, it's right there. I'm going to go from back to front, check my lean, and I'm going to knit through the front. Okay. Slip my marker, knit one, find the bar, I'm going to make one left. So I'm going to go from front to back, check my lead, and then knit through the back. All right, now I'm going to do a couple stitches. And that, my friends, is how I start setting up my raglan, or the raglan increase part. So now, it's hard to tell now, but you can see maybe a little bit that this stitch is in the middle and things are kind of forming a little bit of a V around it, going off in two different directions. Yeah, that is, this is the crossed stitch from before that covered up our knit one below increase. And the crossed stitch sort of forms the basis for this raglan opening up. Okay, so you're going to see me again soon with a video on that separating the body and the sleeves. Keep track of your repeats and happy knitting. Bye.